Welcome back everybody. After the launch of the SpeedPulser, I wanted to try and amalgamate a tacho adapter, tacho converter, as well as the SpeedPulser into one board. This board will only give RPM and speed functionality. If you wanted a reverse light, if you wanted an engine management light, if you wanted DSG with paddles, etc., you would want to be using Canta Cluster. But if you're just wanting a speedo and you just want attack, SpeedPulser Pro is the solution to this. It does look like quite a busy PCB, but if you kind of break it down into segments, it's quite manageable. Now, what I've tried to do is I've tried to keep this so that it's adaptable, so that if you've got different solutions or different incoming inputs, you can choose which ones you want to be able to use. Right at the top of the board, 3-pin connector from the top, we've got an RPM connector. That will be your tacho pulse if you'd like. You've then got chassis ground, and you've got power, and then you've got the motor for the actual speedometer drive. And that's it, that would get you up and running. What you now need to decide is how you're going to get speed into the unit, so the speed signal. So what you could use is you could use a Hall sensor. So that's contained at the 4-pin connector at the bottom. It's the second pin up from the bottom on this one here. So that would be speed from a Hall sensor. You could also get speed from CAN bus if you decide to use CAN bus, or if you don't have a Hall sensor and you don't have speed available on CAN bus, you can use a GPS module. GPS modules do have their limitations. It's exactly the same as your phone, it still needs to be visible to the sky. So if the module can't see the sky, GPS won't work. It also doesn't work in tunnels, so don't expect miracles, but it is a backup if you need or you don't have those functionalities. For RPM, same concept, you can use the 4-pin input, so for the ME7 people that have a dedicated RPM output, you can use that RPM pin. If you wanted to use CAN bus, you can just use the 2 CAN bus pairs. If it's got speed on the bus, you can use that. If it's got RPM on the bus, you can use that. Same idea as an R termination resistor. If you have other CAN bus devices, you'll want to remove this. If you don't have any, you want to keep it. And then you've got a pull up and pull down for your Hall sensor for your gearbox. So the whole point of this board is that it's modular. It can be adapted to suit, I've got RPM from an ECU, but I don't have a Hall sensor, so I can use GPS. You can, jump around to try and get the inputs to suit what you want. This is the module here. It's not much bigger than the original SpeedPulser, but the advantage of having a tacho output means that it's one compact unit. If you wanted other functionality, if you wanted to be able to use DSG and have paddles and have a reverse output and an engine management light, you would want to pair it with Canta Cluster. But for people just wanting speedo and they just want attack, this is the solution for this. I'm going to do a really short demonstration. I don't have CAN bus hooked up, I don't need it for this. What I can do is I can go onto Wi-Fi, just like all the other boards, and I can demonstrate the calibration of the speedometer, and I can make sure that the tack works as well. So I've logged into Wi-Fi, same process as before. You turn the device on. Within the first 60 seconds you can connect to it. Once you've connected to it, you can go in to calibrate the speed. Now this is a 200 km an hour or a 120 mile an hour cluster, so in the calibration section on the Wi-Fi, I'll use my phone so you can actually see what I'm doing. So at the top here, under calibration, I've chosen the correct speedometer calibration. You can then choose test speedo. Now there's, just like the SpeedPulser, there's a blue potentiometer in the board, and you can use that to adjust up or down the final speed. Now the easiest way to calibrate these, exactly the same as the SpeedPulser, set it to the max speed. In this case it's 200 kilometers an hour, so I'm going to set it to 200, and then I'll adjust the blue potentiometer on the board. It's in the bottom right hand corner here. So if I adjust this to 200, I can adjust this potentiometer back and forth. And what I want to do is I want to adjust it until it says 200. So we'll take that there until we get, I'm probably going to be too anal with this, but 200 kilometers an hour. And then what I can do is I can just do a sense check on the speed. So just now it's on Wi-Fi set to 42 kilometers an hour, and it's just a hair up. Now, if I found that here just too much, I can use the offset and I can adjust the speed offset until I get to 42. And I can go through ranges and I can just make sure that the speeds for those ranges are great, and I'm happy with that. Likewise, I can go to RPM, I can hit test RPM, and I can pick nominal values just to make sure that the scaling is correct for RPM. These are all based on VAG ECUs, so they are already scaled correctly. You shouldn't need to, but if you were to fit it to another brand, the scaling is in there as well. As I touched on, like everything that I produce, all of it's on GitHub, so you can go on, you can download, you can build your own. I'll skip over this because we've already talked about it, but 3 connections, they're labelled on the PCB: power, ground, and a Hall sensor. You've got CAN, you've got an RPM trigger, you've got GPS if you need it, and then your outputs, you've got PWM and you've got a coil type RPM. Now, I've made calibrations for the clusters that I have. If there are other clusters out there, feel free. I'm going to do a short video shortly on how to calibrate each one if you have a cluster that doesn't have a calibration already on this. And if you do come up with one, send over the calibration data and I'll add it in. And that is pretty much it. If you decide to add GPS, you can go into Wi-Fi, you can make sure that it sees the satellites, how many satellites it's got, and it will tell you your current speed. Likewise, if it's got CAN, it will tell you to make sure that you can actually see CAN coming in, and it will show you CAN and RPM. And that is pretty much it.